That's right. Welcome in. It is another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast here on IdahoSports.com, talking District 4, most weeks in, most weeks out on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account, coming to you live on a Friday afternoon, almost 2:30 local time. So much great sporting events and activities taking place throughout the Magic Valley and throughout the state, involving Magic Valley teams as well. And we are here to break it all down. Of course, if you're not here with us live on a Friday, you can always go back and watch this Magic Valley Prepcast on replay at the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can also listen to the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com and wherever you download and subscribe to podcasts. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in our Magic Valley expert. It is Scott Burton. Scott, he loves LA. What's going on, Scotty?
Yo, what's happening, man? This is you hit it right on the head, man. This is a great time for sports. You know, not only are we winding up high school fall seasons, but you know, we're in the middle of the NFL, college football, the World Series, huh? So yeah, it's a good time to be a sports fan. And I'll share this with you too, Brandon. Last weekend, I took my girls to their very first NFL football game. Flew them down to LA. We went to SoFi, watched the Raiders and the Rams play, and that was Sunday. And you know, I got them all decked out. They're like 6th grade and 4th grade, and they're kind of coming around to liking sports. And of course, they like the Rams because that's what their dad likes. And so it was perfect timing. Fly down there. We catch the game. And then as soon as that game was over, we had a car waiting for us that we had prearranged like 2 days earlier. We hopped in that thing and they zipped us over to Dodger Stadium, and we caught game 6 with the Mets and Dodgers when they clinched it. And so, I mean, it was just a crazy, crazy weekend. And then my Rams win last night over the Vikings. I love LA. And I hate the town. I can't wait to get out of there when I go visit. But here we are. Sports teams. Here we go.
Yeah. So technically, SoFi Stadium is in Inglewood, California. Mm-hmm. How far is that from? Because I've been to Dodger Stadium. I have not been to SoFi Stadium. So how long of a drive is that?
It's not long at all. Matter of fact, you fly into LAX and you are, depending on traffic, of course, you're 15, 20 minutes away. So it is not far at all, you know, and of course, SoCal is just about the time and the traffic and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty legit stadium. I took them on an inside tour on Saturday, you know, went to the underbelly of it and got the exclusive tour, ran out on the field, threw the ball around, you know, we did all that kind of stuff. And it was really, really cool. Just the architecture of all of that stuff is just fascinating because that place is built right next to a fault line, you know, and so obviously earthquakes are a big thing, but they constructed that building first of all, it's subterranean, it's underground, so it's not ground level, and the second thing is it's in 3 moving parts, you know, so if they ever did get an earthquake, the whole building isn't going to move. It's just whatever part is affected. A really strange structural design, but they had to do it that way. And it was just fascinating to learn the engineering behind some of this stuff. You know, I mean, I love stadium tours and I go on them whenever I can, and just everybody's so different and unique, but just the design is just incredible in these places.
Yeah. And then the opposite for Dodger Stadium, it's like literally on a mountain, like it's on the side of a hill, like it's the total opposite. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Chavez Ravine.
Yeah. The only NFL stadium tour I have been on, Scott, is the Seahawks stadium, and it was when I was in junior high, and it was actually still being constructed. So I got to take a tour of the stadium as it was kind of half built.
Awesome.
But they mentioned on the tour, and it has stuck with me all these years because Seattle, the 12th man and this great home field advantage, when they built the structure, there's these big concrete pillars and a lot of this overhang that hangs over the lip of the stadium, the rim of the stadium, as it were.
Right.
That they did it for kind of structural reasons, but at the same time, it allows all the sound to bounce off of that and back into the stadium, and that's so loud there.
Oh, it is, and I've been to that stadium many times for football games and concerts and whatever else. But football game wise, there is not many better stadiums than that one when it comes to the fan experience and the loudness and the home field advantage. And you take SoFi and you take not it's Lumen Field right now. I mean, it used to be Quest, but right, you take those two, they couldn't be any more different. I mean, Seattle's got that, like you said, that bouncing sound and it feels like they're right on top of you. SoFi is so big and spread out that you don't get that vibe. You're just looking at this big giant screen that's in front of you and the 85,000 other people that are sitting around, and just a different vibe, but still cool.
Yep. Seattle built a stadium. LA built a venue, right? They're going to do the Olympics, concerts, all sorts of stuff.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, here we go, Scott. 7 minutes. All we've talked about are LA Dodgers and LA Rams. We'll circle back into the Magic Valley.
Not nearly enough time there.
Right. Here is Sean Kane from the East Idaho Prepcast in the chat, Scott. He says Minico versus Twin is the World Series of Magic Valley football. It is a big matchup tonight.
It is, and Twins got their work cut out for them. They're a little banged up right now, and so we'll see how the injuries are going to affect Twin. But they've got some players right now that are dinged up, and that's going to have an impact. So we'll see. But they do have the home field advantage there.
Yeah, and that will probably be the extent of our football conversation on this particular show, because if you really want that in-depth football analysis, you can tune into Gem State Game Day. That's our football-only preview show we do every week. It's on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. But also because we're going to be talking football plenty when the playoffs start here over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to hit all the other fall sports, as it were. Scott, let's travel back in time to about 10 days ago now. The state golf tournaments took place 2 weeks ago. The 6A competition was held over in Pocatello for our purposes. Now, let me ask you, Scott, is Canyon Ridge 6A for golf like they are for most of their other sports?
Yes, they did go 6A golf, and their girls actually qualified and ended up taking 6th overall at the state tournament in 6A girls golf. So, 6A for Canyon Ridge there.
Outstanding. I've got to start calibrating when I do show prep here. I got to start looking at 6A stuff for the Magic Valley. I've never had to do that before.
I'm still confused. I mean, I've only been doing this for, 50 years, it seems. And I'm so confused. And people still haven't come around to it yet. They still call it, the 6A, the old 5A. Whatever, it's got an alternate name, like the artist formerly known as.
Right. So congratulations to the Canyon Ridge girls there at the 6A golf tournament. The 5A
shout out.
Oh, good.
Right, and a shout out to Canyon Ridge golfer Danica Humphreys, who tied for 3rd in individual medal. He shot 76-78 over the 2 days, finished with a +2, but good for her and good for Canyon Ridge.
Yeah, and only 5 strokes back of the leader. And the champion wasn't determined. It had to go to a playoff. And Ella Wilson from Coeur d'Alene ended up winning the individual title. So that is outstanding for Danica Humphreys. Absolutely. Great job.
Yep.
Okay, the 5A golf tournament, Scott, was held a little closer to home at the River's Edge Club in Burley, and we talked about coming in, right? It was probably going to be Bishop Kelly and Twin Falls in the team races. Maybe on the boys' side, Jerome or Mountain Home or someone could make some noise. Well, it ended up being a clean sweep for BK. They win the boys' title and the girls' title. Twin Falls finishes 2nd, I will say a fairly distant 2nd behind the Knights in each of the team competitions. And then how about the Mountain Home boys taking 3rd, Scott, and bringing home a trophy as well? Pretty outstanding.
Yeah, no, great job for Mountain Home. Chad Stevenson led Mountain Home, finished with 2 over par, and not bad at all. Bishop Kelly, though, I mean, we talk about this whenever we bring up golf. Bishop Kelly, Twin Falls, who's it going to be? Bishop Kelly dominated. I mean, they won the boys' side by 44 strokes. I mean, this thing wasn't even close. Twin was a distant second. Mountain Home, 68 strokes off the lead. So you can just see the separation that Bishop Kelly has in golf and in everything that they do. That's just, we've had that discussion before.
Yeah,
we don't need to go there again.
We'll talk
their problems, huh?
we'll talk about that until we're Twin Falls blue in the face.
Oh, won't we? It is, yeah. I wish I had their problems. Anyway, but yeah, they were fantastic. I mean, how dominant they were. 3 of their top 4 golfers were in the top 5. I mean, they had 3 of their golfers in the top 4, and all 5 were in the top 12. If that just tells you something.
Yeah,
that's insane. So
simply dominant.
Yeah, good for them. Another Magic Valley performance. I mean, obviously, we've talked a lot about Brody Payne from Twin Falls. He finished 1 under for the weekend, 3 shots off the lead, took 2nd overall. And Ike Redder out of Burley finished tied for 8th. And Kyler Barker from Jerome finished 10th. So, there were some good Magic Valley performances in there. But like we've talked before, golf is not about one guy. Golf is about getting 5 guys that can keep their scores together. And when Bishop Kelly puts 5 in the top 12, nobody's going to touch them.
Yeah. And you did mention this, but Chad Stevenson, also Mountain Home, took 5th as well to kind of wrap up there for the Magic Valley. Okay, Scott, on the girls' side, it wasn't quite as dominant for Bishop Kelly. I mean, they only got 3 in the top 10, unlike 4 on the boys' side, but still a fairly decisive win for the Knights. But a lot of Magic Valley golfers peppered in amongst that top 10 as well.
Yeah, Bishop Kelly, they won the title over Twin Falls by 21 strokes instead of the 44 on the boys' side. But, Kara Carter out of BK finished the weekend 3 under par. And they again were dominant. Gracie Payne, Twin Falls, 2nd place medalist. She finished 1 over par. So we got 2 Paynes from Twin Falls finishing 2nd. So, I mean, what a golfing family that is over there. But, congratulations to them. Allison Shockey out of Minico finished 3rd, 5 over par. So there were some good performances there.
Yep. And then Kate Miller from Twin finishes 9th. And then tied for 10th, Elena Leckerkirk from Twin Falls and Julia Clefforth from Mountain Home as well to round out the top 11 technically there on the girls' side.
Yeah. And again, just to show how dominant the girls are, they won by 21 strokes. The 3rd place team was 67 strokes out of the lead. And the 4th place team was 126 strokes out of the lead. So, they shot as a team better than Rocky Mountain, the 6A champ. But I mean, I know it's different courses and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, that just shows you how strong they are. So
yeah, pretty impressive.
Maybe someday they'll go up to 6A where they all belong.
Right. They did move up in boys and girls soccer and swimming. Those were the sports that they took the plunge on there.
Oh, plunge. Well done.
Yeah, right. Well, speaking of boys and girls soccer, where Bishop Kelly did qualify both of their teams for the 6A state tournament. Boy, I'm glad we don't really have to. I mean, Canyon Ridge, we will mention kind of briefly on the 6A side, but man, the Treasure Valley swept all of the first round matches yesterday, Scott. That's just not fun for anybody.
No, and it looks like everything went chalk, right?
We had a couple of upsets here and there.
In
6A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
6A girls and 5A girls, they all went chalk. And then let me bring this up really quick. And then twin girls beat Wood River for the 3rd time this year to keep their season alive.
Yeah. Let's go ahead, Scott.
No, that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Okay. So let's quickly, Canyon Ridge was competing at the 6A boys state tournament up in Coeur d'Alene. They came in as the number 8 seed. You knew that was going to be a tall order, taking on a Rocky Mountain team that had only lost or tied once this entire season. They fell 5-0 there. Had the loser out match earlier today, Scott. They fall in that game 3-2 to Thunder Ridge, district opponent there. So Canyon Ridge goes 0-2, but for their first year competing at the 6A level, I thought a pretty tremendous success for Canyon Ridge to get to state.
Oh yeah. Canyon Ridge, I mean, it's tough with a school like Canyon Ridge just to all of a sudden be thrown into the 6A ranks in anything. We've got some really good 6A schools here in Idaho, and Canyon Ridge, at times struggled at 5A, or old 4A, or the artist formerly known as whatever. But then all of a sudden, just to be going, boom, here's a 6A schedule, and your conference games, by the way, they're going to be 2.5 hours away. It's such an adjustment, and hats off to Canyon Ridge too. I mean, qualified for state, even though they got in as the 8th seed, got thumped by Rocky Mountain, who is absolutely solid and legit. They did well. I mean, good season for them.
Yep, for sure. 5A state tournament, Scott, on the boys' side. This is the 5As are being held over in East Idaho. Bonneville is hosting the boys. Hillcrest is hosting the girls. You had, of course, Wood River, the number 1 seed coming in. Twin also qualifies as the 7 seed. Twin Falls goes 2-out. They fall to the number 2 seed Valley View in a very tight match yesterday, 1-0. And I'll be honest, I thought coming into this state tournament, Valley View may have been overseeded just slightly. And I thought that was a prime upset possibility for Twin, but they fall 1-0. And then they fall today to Century, the 3 seed, who got upset as well in the first round, 2-1. So Twin goes 2-out, but they had to play the number 2 and number 3 seeds at this tournament, Scott.
They did. I mean, they didn't get a very good draw there. But they had a great run in the district tournament. And they upset Jerome twice and qualified for state. And even though sometimes you go 2 in barbecue, getting there was something that I'm not sure a lot of people thought they would do, but they did. And good for them. And they battled Century tough in the end. But you look at this 5A bracket, and the thing that just jumps out at you is the dominance of Wood River, the defending state champs. I mean, they're coming in 18-1. Their only loss is to Boise, 1-0, and Boise's in the state semifinals at the 6A right now. But in their 19 games, this Wood River team, they've only had 3 1-goal games. Everything else has been 2 goals or more. So, I mean, that is just how dominant that this team has been. So, I'm excited to see if Wood River can repeat. They're certainly good enough to do it.
Yeah, Wood River is going to take on Blackfoot in the semifinals. If we're being honest here, if I'm ranking the 4 teams that are left in the semis, I think it goes Wood River 1, Blackfoot 2, Idaho Falls 3, Valley. I'm really not, and maybe Valley View is going to prove me wrong here, but we'll see. I think the toughest matchup, I think Wood River may get a tougher challenge in the semifinals tonight than they do in the championship tomorrow, but we shall wait and see. Wood River trying to repeat as the champs there. 5A girls tournament, Scott, we mentioned taking place over in Hillcrest in Ammon, technically over there in East Idaho. We had Twin Falls and Wood River both qualify 6 and 7 seeds. So not much love from Max Preps for the Great Basin Conference this year.
No.
Twin falls to Pocatello 2-0 yesterday. Wood River shut out by Lewiston 5-0. So Twin and Wood meet up again for the 3rd time this year in the loser out contest early this morning. Twin Falls wins that 3-1, and the Lady Bruins will play Hillcrest tomorrow for the consolation trophy at the 5A girls state tournament.
Yep. Yeah. So come away with some hardware, make it to day number 3. And that's the goal of any state tournament. 5A girls, I mean, Middleton has just been so strong all year long that, I'm looking for them to cruise, but you never know. I'm really interested in what's going on at like the 4As. I mean, you take a look at the 4A girls, for example. I mean, you've got Buell, the number 6 seed, knocking off the community school and in the opening round. And I mean, this is a team that lost to the community school 5-0, tied them 1-1, lost in overtime 2-1, and then finally, the 4th time around, they were able to get them. And they'll advance and play a pretty solid Fruitland team that's sitting at 17-1, who lost 3-1 to LeGrand, Oregon, who's ranked number 3, I think, in the Oregon 4A. So they've got the work cut out with Fruitland. But boy, what a good win to open the tournament for Buell.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, so good luck Buell this afternoon in the semifinals against Fruitland. They're playing probably, it probably just kicked off not that long ago, Scott, over in Post Falls. Right. And then the Cutthroats kept their season alive this morning. They had to play Coeur d'Alene Charter. We've seen Sun Valley and Coeur d'Alene Charter match up a lot over the years in state, but usually it's on that other side of the bracket, in the semifinals or the finals. Here today, it was a loser out contest. 2-2 draw through 2 overtime periods. It goes to the PKs, the penalty kicks, and Sun Valley wins 6-5. You only get 6 cracks at it in the PK, right? So they got all 6 and they got 1 stop, which was enough.
Yeah. It's always funny, and we talk about this a lot in basketball too, is like when you get upset in that opening round, how are you going to respond the next day? I mean, you're going to have that little hangover where, what could have been, and then you don't come out and you lay an egg. It was good to see the community school rebound a little bit. I'm sure the game was a little bit tighter than they wanted, but they still advance and they still can come away with some hardware. So congratulations to them and good luck to them. And in this thing, I mean, everybody's looking at number 1 Sugar, who cruised over Homedale 9-0 in the opener. But this is a 17-1 Sugar team whose only loss was to 5A Pokey, 3-2, and that Pokey team is in the 5A state semis right now with a 15-3 record. So this is, I mean, you're looking at some of these brackets, and we just got done talking about Wood River and the boys. Sugar is that here in this bracket. Fruitland is good, and I think that could be a good championship game if Fruitland's able to advance. 2 teams, 1-loss teams battling it out. So I've been keeping an eye on this bracket.
Yeah, and what makes soccer such a cruel sport is that you can be the better team for 95% of the match, but if you have a 2 or 3 minute window where you slip and the opponent gets a goal through the net, that might be enough to end what you thought was going to be a good run. And so soccer, especially, I feel like every state tournament, Scott, you come in and you always go, there's 2 teams that are kind of like big behemoths that are the favorites. There's probably 2 teams that are, just happy to be there, probably a little overmatched. And then there's 4 teams in the middle where it could go either way. And really, if you look at that top 6, you look at any of those 6 and you go, okay, I could see it. I could see them winning state just because it's so unpredictable.
It is. And you just get a something to bounce your way, just there's so many variables that just can change a game, right? I mean, soccer could be, how did the ball come off the foot when you're trying to, drive it down the field? Did it take a good bounce? Did somebody slip and fall? You don't think of those things, but sometimes in these soccer games where it's 1-0, 2-1, it's like those little things make a huge difference. And yeah, it could change, but I see these teams that are so good. Defense is where they're at. They are solid defensively. They just don't let a lot of things happen near that net, and that's where you get the separation.
Yep. So wrapping up soccer talk with the 4A boys, Scott. This is also taking place in Post Falls at the Real Life Fields. Sun Valley Community School, just like the girls, the boys team loses a tight first-round matchup. They fall to McCall Donnelly 4-1. They're playing Weiser. That match should be getting close to wrapping up here. Maybe we'll get a final score before the show ends to see if the Cutthroats advance to the consolation final tomorrow. But kind of like Wood River in the 5A boys, Wendell, the number 1 seed, kind of the overwhelming favorite coming into this thing. They're going to play McCall Donnelly in the state semis this afternoon. They beat Weiser yesterday 5-3. This is a Wendell team we've talked about a lot this year, Scott. They have been so close so many times. They have never brought home that first place trophy. Could this finally be the year.
You know what? Anytime you win a state title in anything, you've got to have a couple of breaks. You got to have some things go your way. Well, Wendell comes in, the number 1 overall seed, 18-2 record. Their only 2 losses this year were the Sun Valley Community School. Well, guess who just got upset in the opening round? The community school, or that would have been another Wendell Community School matchup. And sometimes you just have another team's number. Well, McCall Donnelly pulls the upset, and now Wendell's going to have to deal with them. And I'm pretty sure looking at this bracket or watching that game, they're like, holy cow, thank goodness we don't have to see Sun Valley again.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting semifinal for sure. And I misspoke, Scott. I was looking at the girls' championships when I said Wendell. Wendell has won 2 boys soccer championships in 2010 and 2014, respectively. But you're talking about a decade since Wendell, brought home the first place trophy. So this would be a big moment for the Trojans for sure.
Yeah, it will.
All right. Well, let's wrap up today, Scott, with some district volleyball. The state volleyball tournaments are next week, believe it or not. We will have you covered with volleyball preview coverage. Once again, I'll record state tournament previews for each of the 6 classifications with Lindsay Togiai Afuk. She's kind of our in-house volleyball expert. So if you're looking for state volleyball previews and stuff, that's where that'll be next week. I'll record a big preview with Lindsay, and then we'll upload it to all of our Facebook, X, YouTube accounts, etc. So that's where state volleyball coverage is going to be next week. But Scott, from the Magic Valley, a lot of quality teams that are going to be competing for hardware at the state tournaments next week. Let's just go classification by classification and tell you who won districts, who qualified for state, who still has a chance to get to state with a Saturday win somewhere tomorrow. So we mentioned Canyon Ridge, now a 6A school. They came into districts as the number 5 seed overall. They go 2 and out. They fall to Madison and Highland in straight sets, 3-0. 3-0. Madison kind of one of the, they're the defending 6A state champions. So getting Madison right out of the gates, that was a tough one for Canyon Ridge.
Yeah. And there's some really good volleyball teams in that high country conference. Really, really good. And Madison is obviously the top of the class. And, Canyon Ridge over the years has been really good. They had that little, the ordeal last year before last. And they're still trying to kind of dig themselves out of that a little bit and dealing with a 6A schedule. So Canyon Ridge is, they're going to take their lumps a little bit, but, they'll be back eventually. But, man, it's a tough conference they're in now.
Yeah, Canyon Ridge got to state last year from the Great Basin Conference. They, of course, have now vacated that spot. So who qualified for state from the 5A Great Basin Conference? Twin Falls wins the district championship over Wood River 3-0. And now Wood River gets to advance to state as well, Scott, as the second place finisher. So Twin Falls, no surprise. Wood River's been close the last couple of years. It's nice to see the Wolverines finally get that state volleyball ticket punched also.
Yeah, good for them. I've watched both of these teams play, and, man, they've got some girls that can really swing, and for the longest time we've talked about 4A volleyball, and it's all been Skyview and everybody else, right? Matter of fact, Twin is one of the few teams to sneak in there and kind of disrupt Skyview's dominance, but those are 2 good teams coming out of the Magic Valley. I'll be interested to see how they do, because they do have some girls that can swing.
And this tournament in general is going to be wide open. I'm looking at teams that could contend. I'm looking at Twin, certainly. Bonneville is always strong. Pocatello has a pretty good team this year. Lakeland, if they can qualify, they've got to beat Lewiston one more time Saturday night. But if Lakeland gets there, I think they're pretty good. But Twin is going to be right in the mix, I think. And Wood River could be sneaky too. This tournament is pretty wide open in terms of who could win it now that Skyview is gone and playing at the 6A level. So
yeah, it is. This one is going to be really, really tight, and it's going to be one of those things to where who's playing well right now and who's got no drama on their team. I say that kind of flippantly, but it is so true. These teams that do well, especially on the girls' side, if you're dragging drama into any type of tournament, man, you are going to unravel in a heartbeat, and I've seen it 100,000 times. And we talked about that particular thing at a state tournament in basketball last year or the year before last, where an overall number one overwhelming team that was supposed to battle for a state title got knocked out or lost in the first game, and to a team they shouldn't have lost. But the reason why, they had internal fighting and drama and all that kind of stuff. So, and it holds true for the guys' side. I'm not trying to belabor that issue, but I'm just saying that those are the little things that kind of factor in to a state tournament and who's playing the best at the time. Get rid of that stuff and play well, have some fun, and you never know.
Yeah, and to be clear, that was not a Magic Valley team that you're referencing.
No, it's not.
That was an East Idaho team where.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I mean, just like girls wouldn't even look at each other on the court. No. It was very weird.
Yeah. And you didn't, once that was pointed out to us, it just like opened up. It's like, holy crap, that is exactly what's happening. You could just see it, and it's like, no wonder they're losing. They don't like each other.
Yeah, that was bizarre for sure.
It was, yeah.
A team that really loves each other are the Kimberly Bulldogs. Man, I tell you what.
Good segue.
Yeah, they have been perennially one of the best 4A, previously 3A volleyball programs in the state. They won the state title a couple of years ago. They win the districts pretty easily. They only dropped one set the entire way, Scott. That was to Filer in the undefeated semifinal. They beat Filer. Filer worked their way back through. They beat Filer 3-0. Kimberly moving on to state. Filer gets to, I think they're moving on to, I'll double check. Let's start with Kimberly though. Kimberly missing Mallory Kelsey early on in the season. She was out with an injury, and Kimberly kind of took their lumps, but then she kind of rejoined the team in mid-September, and they have been on a trajectory ever since.
Yeah, they were 0-5 at one point with a couple of big losses in there, but you could just tell they weren't gelling very well. And so when they got it together, boy, they went on a really, really good run and finished the season, 19-7. But you figure how they started, that's like basically 19-2. So they had a couple of ties in there tournament wise, but I mean they've hit their stride and they hit it well.
I mean, they went to the Peg Peterson tournament to start the year at Highland, and they were playing in the bronze bracket on Saturday, yeah. Scott. That's, obviously gold is the best and silver is the middle. And like, I don't know the last time Kimberly was in the bronze bracket for any type of tournament. It was kind of eye-opening when I saw that. But now they are locked in, loaded. And for Filer, Scott, they do not get an auto bid. They have to win a state play-in match tomorrow against Weiser. Luckily for Filer, it's not that long of a trip. They've just got to go to Mountain Home. It's going to be 11 a.m. tip-off. This is a toss-up. Weiser's got a good volleyball program, certainly, but I could see Filer also getting the job done.
Yeah, I can too. I mean, Filer's had a really good year, and, they're coming out of a pretty good conference. I mean, Buell battled right around 500. Gooding didn't have a good season at all. But when you got somebody like Kimberly pushing you, then, that they're going to play well. And they're the ones that, like you said, took a set from them. The only set Kimberly lost in the district tournament. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. This Weiser team and Filer, they do have a little history. They played at the Peg Peterson and back at the beginning of the season, and Filer lost 2-0 to them. So we'll see how they've kind of improved, because this is a Weiser team that is coming in with, some pretty good momentum of their own, and a really decent season. 20-11, finished third in their conference. But yeah, that particular conference too in volleyball: Fruitland, McCall Donnelly, Weiser, Coal Valley Christian, even all those guys above 500. And so there was some great competition, which is only going to help Fruitland. So anyway. There you
go. Coal Valley Christian moved up a classification level, and in their first year as a 4A school, they got to the district championship, Scott, and lost to Fruitland, but both teams moved on to state. Speaking of new teams in new places, we've talked about this in other sports, but Declo and Wendell kind of hitched their wagon to District 5 this year for a lot of sports, to be part of the Southeast Idaho Conference. We've talked about it in football, certainly. Real quick, one football note. What's probably going to happen, Scott, is after the football games Friday night, Declo, Aberdeen, Westside. I'm only bringing this up because I know it's your favorite conference. This is your favorite race to watch.
Yeah.
Those three teams are probably all going to end up tied for first with 4-1 league records. They all play teams from the bottom half of the standings this Friday night, and they all will have beaten. They all will have beaten each other, right? Declo beat Westside 6-0. Westside beat Aberdeen 14-12. Aberdeen beat Declo 8-0. All one possession games.
Yep.
And all tight, and they've all beaten each other. How does the tiebreaker get solved? They just said, hey, whoever's got the highest max preps ranking, they get the crown. Right now that's Declo. Declo is number one in the entire state. Will that change? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Really and truly, what's on the line is a first round bye for the postseason. But I mean, those three teams are all going to be at least quarterfinals, and all three potentially semifinal teams.
I mean, how good would a Kansas City playoff be, right? I mean, come on. We used to do that. Now we just leg wrestle, or, flip a coin. We play Fortnite. I don't know. We do some stupid stuff. Let's go back to Kansas City playoff.
I mean, now that teams are getting in on max preps, it's taken away a lot of the implications for back when it was all predetermined based upon your district, you had to have Kansas City playoffs to kind of sort everything out. But now it's just like, hey, if you were good enough, you're good enough. So back to volleyball with Declo.
Still don't like it.
Volleyball, Declo and Wendell. Wendell goes 2-0 at the District 4 and 5 tournament. For Declo, they were playing last night, Scott, loser out match against Soda Springs. They win in 5, 3-2, and then they got to turn around right away and play Westside, who had just lost to Malad in the district championship, or the undefeated semifinal. And Declo, just after playing 5 sets against Soda, ran out of gas, got swept by Westside 3-0. So it's going to be Westside and Malad for the district championship Saturday in Malad. But for Declo, a third place finish. And I thought a pretty good season overall.
Yeah, not bad at all. I mean, we talked about this conference, quite a bit, and it's just going to make everybody better. This is such a really good conference. So, first year in it. Hey, good job.
Okay, let's go. I'm going to skip 2A because that is still kind of being sorted out. Let's go to 1A quickly, Scott, the Sawtooth Conference, where Carey, moves back down and takes right back over as the lead driver in this volleyball conference. Carey wins the district championship over Dietrich. And then last night, Scott, Richfield had to play Hanson in a loser out match. Richfield won that contest, and then the winner got to play Dietrich. So Dietrich was rested. Richfield had already played a set. Richfield sweeps Dietrich on their floor 3-0. And now Richfield advances to a state play-in match on Saturday. They will be taking on Grace Lutheran from Pocatello at Pocatello High School. So Richfield's going to have to hit the road and pretty much play Grace Lutheran at a home game. But they just did that in Dietrich, so why couldn't they do it again Saturday?
I like this Richfield team. They're scrappy. They are quick. They get after it. And they're every bit as good in this conference, and they can hang with Dietrich and Carey. And those two teams are some of the best in 1A. And so I completely see Richfield moving on. They cruise through Camas to open. They dropped 3-2 in the second round to Dietrich, but it didn't slow them down, because next thing you know, they're cruising again. They take care of Hanson easily, and I just see Richfield moving on. I do. Put it on the board.
And of course, Carey, the district champions. No surprise there. Coach Teresa Smith always does such a great job with the Lady Panthers. So we'll see if Richfield can join Carey at state after tomorrow's play-in match. And then, Scott, we will wrap up with your this is probably your favorite overall conference. only because it's existed longer than the 3A pairing of Declo and Wendell with these East Idaho teams. That's only been around this year, but this conference has been around for a long time. We're talking the 2A Snake River Conference. And in fact, Jerome High School is going to be involved in the proceedings tomorrow with this tournament. This thing went sideways in a hurry where right away, Sun Valley Community School, the 3 seed, got knocked off by number 6 Shoshone in the opening round. That set up some interesting, and then in the semifinals, number 4 Hagerman beats number 1 Valley. Oakley, the 2 seed, takes care of Shoshone. So you have number 2 Oakley, number 4 Hagerman in the district championship last night at the College of Southern Idaho. Hagerman wins the league, Scott. Their first year competing at the 2A level in some time. They were a 1A school previously. They came into districts as the 4 seed. Way to go, Pirates. Hagerman wins the district title.
Yeah, and that really kind of messes some things up moving forward because, you've got number 1 Valley and number 2 Oakley, who are probably going to have to battle it out for that other spot at state. And one of them not going to make it, and you look at, this conference here, man, first of all, Sun Valley, boy, it's been a rough weekend for the community school. Both soccer teams lose in the opener. Volleyball gets knocked out. And then tomorrow we're going to have 2 games at Jerome just to kind of figure all this mess out. And it's going to be that one on the back end of that bracket. And then it's going to be the other one.
Yeah. So here's what it is. So Valley beats Sun Valley Community School last night in a loser out match. That was a 1 versus a 3 in a loser out.
Right. Yeah. And then, right. Exactly.
Yeah, so Sun Valley's out. And then Murtaugh, the 5 seed, they beat Shoshone, the 6 seed. So tomorrow at Jerome, 1 o'clock, you will have a loser out battle between number 1 Valley, number 5 Murtaugh, and then the winner of that will play number 2 Oakley with a chance to advance to state.
Right. So that back end of the bracket, let's say it's Valley, the number 1 seed. That's going to be back to back for them.
Right.
Playing at 1 and then turning around and playing Oakley at 3. So that's what's going on tomorrow at Jerome. So yeah, this conference really kind of, like you said, got dumped on its ear in a hurry.
And let's not forget, Murtaugh is still in there. I mean, Murtaugh has been the team the last couple of years, right? They have been the team that has gotten to state and competed well. And a lot of those players are gone, but it's nice to see the Red Devils still competing here in the Final Four. In the regular season, Scott, Valley and Murtaugh played. I'm trying to look here. They played once at the Jerome Invitational at your tournament, Scott. Murtaugh won that matchup 2-1. And then they played once in the regular season. Valley won, but it went to 5 sets, 3-2. So you might be in for a good battle in that first matchup tomorrow.
Oh, I think so. I mean, it's going to be a ton of fun. And I love hosting these smaller schools when they come to our place. And we do this, for a lot of the smaller schools around here. Our gymnasium and facilities are top notch, and it's something big for them. And I'm a party planner. So I've got music playing and lights going, and I just got all sorts of stuff happening, and it just provides a cool experience. And when these schools come, we just have the best time because I just love the smaller schools. It's just kind of where my heart lies, because Jerome used to be that way back in the day. But I love hosting them, and tomorrow's going to be a blast.
Yeah, for sure. A couple of comments before we hit the door here, Scott. Here's Katie Knight from Hagerman. Of course, she's the boys basketball coach and just involved in pretty much everything going on at Hagerman. Way to go, Hagerman. They won 3-0. They swept Oakley as well last night, which is probably the most impressive thing. Scott, there's a lot of good stuff going on at Hagerman. We went there last Friday for a football broadcast. Paul Kingsbury, our boss, drove over for the contest. I think he got a Hagerman hat on the way out. They gave him a hat and some swag.
Yeah.
And by the way, Hagerman football beats Butte County, previously undefeated defending state champion Butte County. We've got all of a sudden, Scott, at this 2A level for football, 5 teams that all appear really bona fide contenders, and they've all kind of beaten each other this year, where Valley beat Hagerman, Hagerman beat Butte County. Butte County beat Logos. Logos beat Kendrick. I mean, it's going to be fascinating to see the playoffs unfold.
Oh, it truly is. I mean, this two-way classification has been owned by Kendrick for the past, 113 years. And you sneak in a team like Butte County once in a while and whatever. But man, this year, there are some good football teams, and not just one or two. There are some really good matchups that are going to happen in the two-way playoffs. And I'm anxious to see those for sure.
Yep. Katie says Hagerman is the place to be. That upset last week fueled our town. I love that hometown pride, Scott. That's great.
I do too. And I've liked the growth of Hagerman, the way that they rebounded, because, for a while there, Hagerman was in a real bad place school-wise. The problems with school board and parents were fighting. I mean, it was just a really bad vibe going on there. But man, they got it together, and they are just jiving right now. And I love the vibe over there. It's just tons of fun. Like, even when we went over there and called their game, last year against Kendrick, you could just tell there's so much pride over in Hagerman. And I love to see their sports teams now doing well, because they kind of were a doormat for a lot of teams for a lot of years in a lot of different sports. But man, they're thriving right now. I like it.
And there was a period there, Scott, when I first came to IdahoSports.com like 5 years ago, Hagerman didn't even have a varsity football team. They didn't even have enough kids to have a team. So it's just incredible. Sure.
Love it. Love to see it.
All right, Scott, one last comment before we head out here from Sam Buffington, our number one fan from North Idaho. Scott, I love LA too. Go Benny the Jet Rodriguez. Is that a Benny the Jet jersey you've got on? Who you repping?
It is. I got Bellinger. I have Mookie, and I've got, a bunch of other things. And I was like, just grabbed one out of there without looking at it. And this one is Cody Bellinger, which obviously is not there anymore. But, during the last time the Dodgers won the World Series, when they had to have it all in Arlington, Texas, I happened to be there and watched Bellinger win a game with a home run in the NLCS, and so I figured, okay, all right, I'll put on Belly.
And that was probably the last time Bellinger did anything noteworthy.
Yeah, well, it was, because the funny thing is about that, real quick, when he came off the field, he did that, with the arm where they do that thing. He does this, and it just jacked his shoulder, and from then on, he just wasn't the same. The same. So
you know what I remember from that. So the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020. It was the COVID shortened season, and they played all the games in the bubble down there in Arlington, Texas. You know what? The one thing I remember from that, it's the dumbest thing, but all I can remember from that World Series is Justin Turner testing positive for COVID during the 6th game or whatever the decisive game was, and then celebrating with all his teammates, no mask. Everybody was up in arms over Justin Turner, and that's all I remember from that World Series, Scott.
That's right. And I think we were at that point, because this was, obviously later in the year, after we have just gone through whatever we went through in 2020. I think people were done. Yeah. It's like, okay, we're done. This is stupid. We're out of here. We're done. And I think that was just kind of the snapshot of it. It's like, really? Okay, you got COVID. I don't care. Get out there, because we're finished with this garbage. And I think that was the sentiment going on.
Yep, for sure. All right. Well, good luck to everybody that is competing. State soccer, district volleyball, state play-in matches tomorrow, the final week of the high school football regular season. Scott, next week we will have state volleyball to talk about, state soccer recaps. Maybe we're talking about one or two Magic Valley teams winning it all on the soccer pitch. And of course, we're going to break down everything going on in the state football playoffs as well. So Scott, rest up. We're hitting the stretch run here.
Yeah. And I'm excited. Hopefully get out of coordinating events and get behind the mic for some of these playoff games. And that's going to be a blast. Looking forward to it.
Certainly. So good luck to everybody competing this weekend. If you're traveling somewhere, please travel safely. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.